In her 87 years, Gloria Stuart has assumed many identities. She has been a Hollywood film star of the 1930s, a painter who made a sellout debut in New York, a book artist whose handmade books are collected in museums, and an activist who helped found the Screen Actors Guild. She is a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. But it is her role as Rose Calvert in the film Titanic that is gathering her unprecedented attention. She has been nominated for a Golden Globe and an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. I am very, very, very pleased to have her at this table. Welcome.
Oh, it is such a thrill. It is such an honor, Mr. Rose.
I'm going to call you Gloria, and you're going to call me Mr. Rose. Can we get past that right now?
Yes, except Mama told me that when I first met someone, I should say Mr. All right. May I say Charles?
Please do.
Can I say Charles?
Charles. My mother would be pleased about that in heaven. She would say, finally, someone has said the name that I gave him.
Okay. Charles.
Tell me about the phone call. You're in Los Angeles. You're living in, what is it, Brentwood? Where do you live?
Yes, Brentwood.
And there is a phone message left for you. What does it say?
Well, I came in from my studio where I was printing, and it said, Lightstorm Entertainment, something about a location trip. Well, that sounded good because I like to travel. Yeah. And then it said Titanic, and I thought, And then it said Poland, and I thought, Poland, you know, why not Italy or France? Why does it have to be Poland?
The south of France would be very good for Gloria.
So, but I didn't know Lightstorm, and I hadn't worked in years. My agent took off for South America about 6-7 years ago. I never bothered to get another agent. So I called this wonderful friend of mine, Marvin Page, who knows all, and I said, Marvin, come over and translate this. He said, Lightstorm is a wonderful company. It's James Cameron. He's one of the hottest directors in town. And Titanic. And so he called, and the casting director got on the phone, and she said, may we come over and talk to you? I said, sure. So she came over the next day, and she had a video camera.
Yeah, right.
I'd never seen it. And her girl, Friday, sat there while she talked to me, interviewed me. I guess she wanted to see if I was still breathing. I don't know. You know. So then she left, and the studio, Lightstorm, is only about 15 minutes away. So I think in about 45 minutes she called, so I think Cameron saw some of the film. Yeah. And she said, may we send a script over? And I said, oh, yes, please do, because it sounded wonderful. Sure. So they sent a script over, and in about 45 minutes again, by this time I'd done, you know, Old Rose. I didn't read the script. I just read Old Rose, and it was a wonderful part. Oh, I could taste it. Oh, it was just wonderful.
You wanted it.
Oh, and then she called and she said, Mr. Cameron wants to know if you will read for him tomorrow. I said, of course I will. Of course. And then she called back in about 5 minutes and she said, Mr. Cameron wants to know if you will read for him without makeup. Evidently, they worried about my looking 102, which is very easy at this age. And I said, I started to say, because this is Groucho Marx's training, I'll read for him without clothes on if he wants it. And I said, no, I don't know her, and I don't know him. I mustn't say that. So I said, yes, please. Yes. He came over the next day, and here I'm very plain Jane, you know, and I have a little white cap on, no hair showing or anything. Yeah. And I read for him for an hour. And he only stopped me once, and he said, you sound very angry. And I said, isn't that the way you wrote it? And he said, well, no, I hadn't thought of it that way. It's a speech where I describe the 1,500 people in the water and the fact that there were lifeboats, 20 lifeboats around, and only one of them came back. I mean, the immorality of it was so shocking, and I was furious. And I said, how would you want me to read it more gently? And he said, no. He said, read it the way you want to. That was the only time he stopped me. So the next day I left for England because I'd booked passage, and I have a lot of friends in London. Well, I call the reporter, I call Variety, I call my friends for 3 weeks. You know, has it come out? Has he announced it? No, so I cut the trip short. I came home.
You couldn't stand it.
And I wrote him a letter.
Yes.
I said, Dear Mr. Cameron, I would like to read the script for you again, having read young Rose as well as old Rose this time. You know, I should have given you a feistier reading, and I would love to read for you again. That was Friday afternoon. Took her to the post office, did priority big. I didn't want it lost on his desk. And Tuesday morning, they called and said, how would you like to be old Rose?
All right. Now, they loved, as I understand it, your voice. Your voice was young. It wasn't old.
That was his great genius. He said two things. Makeup, he said, don't touch her eyes. And then he used a word that I'd never heard. He said, because we're going to morph them. I thought, oh, what is that? You know, what? Lenses, you know. And then he also
Not sure
said,
I want to be morphed.
Yeah, the first reading up in Halifax. And I was doing a little voice. He said, Gloria, I want your voice. He said, I don't want an old voice. I want your voice. So I didn't have to walk away quite anymore.
Now, how long had it been since you'd acted? I mean, you had left Hollywood.
Oh, you mean serious acting?
Yeah,
I mean, under contract where I had to do what I was told.
When you had a good role?
Oh, I had a good role with Peter O'Toole on television, my favorite year.
Well, that was 19...
That was about 7, 8 years ago.
Okay.
But it was the only one I've ever played where I didn't have any lines. But when my agent said, Peter O'Toole, no lines, she said, so I didn't. I said, you probably weren't. I said, please.
All right. So you got the role in Your Old Rose.
Yes.
A central character, because that's the way the story is told.
Right.
How did you get along with Cameron on the set?
Beautifully. He's a wonderful
He's a
director.
sweetheart, isn't he?
Oh, he is darling.
Well, you know what they say.
In the first place, very rare for me in the early days, because most of the directors in the early 30s had been action directors. They had not been trained in theater. So they had dialogue directors. James knew what he wanted, and he was able to tell you what he wanted. And during the entire shoot, the only time he ever corrected me was, there's a scene where Louis Abernathy is explaining with great joy and joie about the sinking of the ship, and it gets, you know, and it goes down. Pretty neat, huh? And I said whatever I said to him, and James said, Gloria, you're being grand. I said, I don't want to be grand. But that's the only time. No, he was wonderful.
Yeah, but there was one time you refused to ride on the helicopter, didn't you?
Yes, but that didn't have anything to do with him being a director. He wanted me to land on this ship.
Right. At the beginning when they're setting up the story.
Yeah, but I said to him, James, I do not believe in the theory of the helicopter. Someday they're going to find out that it's, you know, they made a mistake. And it's, no, they wanted...
they may find out with one that I'm on.
Yeah, but it was, we had to land on that postage stamp of a ship deck. And it was the biggest helicopter in the world, he told me.
So how'd they get around it?
Should I tell?
No, don't tell. All right, don't tell. Okay, let's take a clip and let's see if you're one of the few Americans who have not seen this movie, which is heading to record.
No, today it went over the top. It will be the all-time grosser of all time.
All right, let's hear it for Gloria. Here it is, ready to go back to the Titanic. This is where you're asked by the exhibition leader if you're ready to remember your Titanic experience.
Oh,
Here
yes.
it is. These are so. Well, there it is.
The butterfly, Kate Winslet wears at the ball in her hair.
Right.
That's why I wore.
Now, you wanted to see Kate Winslet?
Yes.
To get a feeling for whether she looked what?
Well, you know, body language is very important in building a character. I was playing her. She wasn't playing me.
Exactly.
So I wanted to see her body language and how she phrased when she talked, how she phrased. So they arranged that she would come to my house for tea. I called my daughter and I said, "You're coming to my house for tea?" And she said, "Go down to the English bakery, get crumpets and everything." So I had this beautiful tea in the bar, all spread out. And when she got out of the limo and started up my walk, I walked out and put my arms around her. And it was instant loving each other, instant admiration and affection. So I said to her, "I have a wonderful tea for you, Kate." She said, "Oh, I'd love a drink." I said, "Oh, I have champagne in the fridge." That's my lifestyle. So we killed a bottle of champagne in about an hour. with Jim's man with the audio cam video thing doing, you know.
Yeah.
And she told me her life story, and I told her mine. We had a wonderful time.
Well, what has happened to you since this phenomenon has hit the world, the movie Titanic?
Charlie, it's impossible to describe it. I mean, limos have come into my life. Couturiers have come into my life. Diamond merchants have come into my life. A couple of old beaux have come into my life.
We've been thinking about you all along, Gloria. Just thought I'd call and say hello. 91
years old, and as my friend said this afternoon, they never give up, do they, Gloria?
Well, might we ignite some new torch here?
It's possible.
Everything's possible.
Why not?
Why not? Exactly.
What is wrong with
you
that?
only live once, right?
Right, and they were all adorable.
I'm sure they were, knowing you this short time. Let me show you another clip, because I want to talk now about your life.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you're getting lots of roles being offered. Not all of them you like. You turn most of them down. Because they wanted too much violence, too much this, too much that. Nothing like this that...
No.
That,
oh, this part will never come again, I don't think. It hasn't. I haven't seen a role like this. Maybe Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, there you go. Jessica Tandy.
Yeah, but look how many years in between for old ladies. They just aren't around.
This is when you were in The Invisible Man with Claude Rains, the voice of Claude Rains here. And your character confronts her former love, who has become the Invisible Man. Roll tape.
I shall offer my secret to the world with all its terrible power. The nations of the world will bid for it, thousands, millions. The nation that wins my secret can sweep the world with invisible armies.
Jack, I want you to let my father help you. You know how clever he is. He'll work with you day and night until you find that second secret, the one that'll bring you back to us. Then we'll have those lovely, peaceful days again, out under the trees, after your work in the evening.
Your father? Clever? You think he can help me? He's got the brain of a tapeworm, a maggot, beside mine. Don't you see what it means? Power. Power to rule, to make the world grovel at my feet.
Jack, listen to me. Listen. My father found a note in your room. He knows something about monarchy even you don't know. It alters you, changes you, makes you feel differently. Father believes the power of it will go if you know what you're fighting. Oh, come and stay with us. Let's fight this thing out together.
Wow.
Whee!
You grew up in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Started making movies, what, in the 20s?
1932.
First movie in 32.
1932, yes.
How many did you make?
I think about 43, 44. In those days, there wasn't a union.
Yeah.
And I made 9 the first year, so I was really what we call doubling in brass. On this stage, and then running, changing clothes, and on that stage.
Universal and Paramount both bid for your services.
Right.
You were a hot item.
Yes.
Then you kind of got turned off by the whole process of acting.
Yes.
What happened?
I wasn't given parts that were challenges or interesting. Girl reporters, girl detectives, society girl, girl overboard, Shirley Temple.
Girl this, girl that, girl there.
Shirley was wonderful to work with. Yeah. And a joy. And when I protested to Zanuck, and I said, I'm a dramatic actress, Mr. Zanuck. I come from Molnar and Pirandello and Shakespeare and Chekhov, Shirley Temple's sister. He said, Gloria, the pictures that you make, few 100,000. With Shirley, millions will see you. Do the picture. Well, in those days, you did the
picture.
Right? But she was lovely to work with.
Who were your best friends?
Then, they were all screenwriters, like Groucho Marx, because he had brought my husband out from Chicago. Yeah. And so I had 40-some-odd years of being with comedy writers and comedians. Fred Allen, Burns, Georgie Burns, Milton Berle, everybody. And what was wonderful about those parties, and they were very simple parties. They weren't big things. Because Groucho was the catalyst, and they adored him. And he asked them over all the time, entertained, and he and my husband were best friends. So I listened to these wonderful stories of these. They were poor boys. most of them had never gone through grammar school. Georgie Jessel, Milton Berle, all of them. And they loved entertaining each other. You thought that was tough in vaudeville. Wait till I tell you. Oh, that was nothing. When I was there, you know, and it was evening after evening for 40 years. Now, what the tragedy was, there were no tape recorders. Yeah. And nobody wrote these gorgeous stories down, or these wonderful jokes, or the great humility and humor that these men had about themselves and the world. It was wonderful.
You were also friends with some literary figures, too, were you not?
One darling little story. One Christmas Eve, I went by Benchley's little house, and he had a Christmas thing out, and so I knocked on the door, and I said, "Merry Christmas, happy." And he said, "Great." I said, "Who are you having Christmas dinner with?" And he said, "No one." And I said, "What do you mean, no one?" Now, here was the most adorable, eligible bachelor in Hollywood. Musing, handsome, adorable. I said, "I don't believe it, Bob." He said, "It's true." So I said, "Well, it's only Arthur and myself and my mother. Will you come and have Christmas dinner with me?" He said, "I'd love to." I don't think it was 2 minutes. I was back in my villa, and he called and he said, "Gloria, could Charlie come?" Now, that was Charlie Butterworth, his best friend, next door. I said, "Of course, I'd love Charlie." So about 15 minutes later, he called. He said, "Dottie wants to come, too." That's Dorothy Parker.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so the three of them come, and I said to Mama, Dorothy Parker, Benchley, Butterworth, right, you know, adorable best friends. You'll love it. So she comes, you know, with a little satin blouse and the suit and the pearls, and she's sitting there waiting for Dorothy Parker. Dorothy came in black stockings and a black skirt and a black blouse, not terribly pressed, and black hair and a black mood. She was very angry, whatever it was about, and she did not say anything funny the whole afternoon, and Mama kept doing this, waiting, nothing.
Nothing came.
And of course, Bob was trying to placate her, and Charlie was just sort of sitting there having a wonderful time. But it was things like that that happened at the Garden.
Do you play poker?
Oh, please. I'm in a almost 50-year poker game.
Is that right?
And these were Julius Epstein, who wrote Casablanca with his brother, Nat Perrin, who was my husband's collaborator on the Marx Brothers, Norman Panama, you know, the road pictures, right, Crosby, all these wonderful men, Mike Kanan, all these wonderful men and their wives. We've been friends for over 50 years, and we play poker almost every Saturday night.
You cook or not? Somebody else cooks?
No, we've given that up now.
No, okay.
We bring deli.
When did you start painting?
About 1954. Our daughter was going to the Sorbonne, and Bogey had made Barefoot Contessa with Ava Gardner and been in Rapallo and Portofino, yes, and came back, and we wanted to go to Europe for a year or so. And he said, "Portofino, Rapallo, you've got to go, it's wonderful." So we stopped by in Paris to see our daughter, and she took me to the Jeu de Paume and the Orangerie. And for the first time, I saw the real thing, the great Impressionists and Post-Impressionists, and I got hysterical. She took me up the ladies' room and stretched me out. It was just so overwhelming. And when I thought about it that night, I thought to myself, you have a year and a half in Europe. You can do it, Gloria. So when we got to Genoa and got our little villa in Rapallo, I drove in and I bought an Italian-English dictionary and a book in Italian how to paint and an easel and canvas and paints and brushes, and I went home and I started painting in '54. I continued painting there for a year and a half and back home, and I made my one-man debut at the Hammer Galleries in New York in '61. Sold out.
Sold out. You make these, though? This is what you do? You make these little books?
I print them. I set the type, and I wrote that one. It's the only one I've written. But I set the type, and I hand press. I have a hand press. I print it on the hand press, and then I have a binder, and she puts it together.
You're remarkable. Gloria, I thank you for coming to this broadcast.
My pleasure.
You're a delight.
You are, too.
I look forward to seeing you on Oscar night.
Thank you so much.
Gloria Stuart, one of the stars of Titanic.